All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello, and welcome to a very special edition, not audition,
Oh no, I'm
of
auditioning.
no, of
Okay,
the
cool.
Natural Beauty podcast with very, very special guests today. And hello, how is everyone doing?
I'm great. A little tired, but I'm great and excited to be here. Excited for our special guests.
I know. So we've got MJ Hart. Hello.
It's
And
nice to be
Effector
here.
of Change.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. And the topic today is mental health. We'll start talking about obviously our special guest first. Just tell us a little bit about yourselves. We just had a sub, and that's way too loud in the mix. I'm just going to turn that down. We want to hear about you guys, and then we're going to talk a little bit about mental health and streamers, content creators, all the pressures that we put on ourselves, and what we can do to lower those pressures, basically, and see where it takes us. If you guys have any questions, please do ask. This is a really special opportunity to have these wonderful guests with us for a couple of hours. So do take the opportunity to ask, if that's cool with everyone.
Who wants to go first?
All right. Well, hi, I'm MJ Hart. I often, introduce myself as a therapist and the gamer who likes to bring those things together to kind of discuss just deeper topics that a lot of us gamers in this space don't get a chance to talk about. I feel like more and more we are, so that's great. But I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, but we're kind of shifting the field to more systemic therapy, which covers so many different areas. But my background is mostly in trauma work. I do a lot of EMDR, neurofeedback, working with people who have experienced domestic violence, things like that. So, yeah. Identity work is my jam, and recently I've been trying to bring in play, and that's been amazing. So the idea of play and role play and things like that can really be healing. So that's my intro.
That's very cool. I have so many questions, but I'll ask them later. Go for it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Effector of Change. You can call me AOC. I use he, they pronouns. On Twitch, I usually just say I am, a therapist by day, warrior of light by stream. I love that Final Fantasy. I love D&D. We do our role-playing stuff on my channel. We do co-working. But in my day job, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been in practice for about 9 years. I run my own private practice. I'm certified in EMDR therapy, which is the first line treatment for PTSD, and I mostly work with complex trauma and treating dissociation. So I'm often in very, very heavy stuff in my day job. So I come on this platform to not so much be in that. Not that I don't enjoy having talks like this. Obviously, I'm here. But I feel like it's important for me to be able to connect with people and get into that sense of play, because that's what I need for my mental health to be able to sustainably continue to do the work that I do. Yeah, that's me.
I love that. That's so cool. It's awesome too that you guys sort of have that trauma background in common too. I was so excited that both of you, I've said this to you off stream, but I was so excited that both of you could come on, because I feel like it's going to be really cool to hear you bounce opinions off of each other and just different best practices. So thank you so much, both of you, for being here. We're really, really excited to have you. Maya, do you want to take it away, or do you want me to jump in? Totally up to you.
Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so okay, we just came up with sort of just a general agenda, and we can totally go our own way, or if someone is in chat and has a specific question, totally feel free to say something and we can just jump around between what's happening. But I think the first thing that we sort of wanted to talk about is different mental health challenges that you see within the content creator community. I don't know if you want to just start with your thoughts, or I can list some specific ones that me and Maya were chatting about earlier. Up to you. Burnout was one that we were thinking about. I feel like a lot of content creators just get into that grind and they're not seeing results, and it starts to take a toll on just like their general mental health. Do you have any like insights or ideas on how to combat something like that?
I did a podcast talk, I think it was 2 years ago now, where we talked all about burnout and vicarious trauma and like how that really has an impact on content creation. Because I've seen a lot of people on the socials, streamer Twitter is a place that's very scary. But you'll see a lot of people complaining about, oh, this person's trauma dumping in my stream. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, no, honey, you're just not processing their pain very well. It's so hard because in order to grow, you have to build a community. You have to care about that community. And that means that the people that are getting hurt, you're going to be exposed to their pain. And a lot of what I see, that reactionary, posting, it's just the vicarious trauma manifesting and people not knowing how to process it or what to do with it or how to take care of themselves. And so, yeah, absolutely. Burnout is huge on top of the grind, right?
Yeah.
Referencing. Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about what you mean? I'm going to ask a lot of like, I don't know things questions. Vicarious trauma. What exactly does that mean?
You want to jump in, MJ?
Sure. I'm just sitting here like, you better preach. I love it. So vicarious trauma, and I actually read this book called Trauma Stewardship. And it's basically all about compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma. It's witnessing or hearing about somebody's trauma and having your own stuff come up, or having just a reaction to their stuff that's coming up that's difficult to process and difficult to hold space for. And actually, it makes me think about how I've seen so many different things in chats, like everywhere I went before I even started streaming. I saw over and over in different people's chats, like people sharing different experiences of, burnout or, trauma or whatever it is. And there was a visceral reaction to like, please don't trauma dump. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, you asked how their day was, and they're just saying what the day was.
Yeah.
And so basically what I, noticed was that the streamer not having the emotional capacity to hold space for that, to be able to say, oh, wow, like basically take care of them in some degree and also take care of their chat, which is really, really difficult. I just noticed that a lot of us tend to label it just as trauma dumping.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to that too, because I do actually, when I stream and I ask how someone's day is, I actually do want to know. Like, I don't want someone to just be like,
Yeah, same.
oh, it was good. Like that's I'm actually like asking because I care. Someone in chat says, I apologize if I say your name wrong. Is it
Dayhawk? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I
They're
say it.
saying, just want to say something. Sometimes just listening to someone can go a long way. Knowing that I am heard goes a long way most days. And yeah, and when I ask somebody in chat, it's not because I'm like afraid of their answers, because I want to know. But I get how sometimes it can be overwhelming for someone. I'm lucky. I mean, we all have trauma, right? But I don't have any kind of specific trigger or anything. So when people are saying things in chat that is happening with their lives, it's like, great. I'm glad that I can be a space where you can feel heard. But it definitely can be overwhelming, especially when you see, Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days, all the different just back and forths of people just being like, I don't know if anger is the base emotion, but it's just it just feels overwhelming.
Probably, yeah.
Anger
Fear
is a masking emotion. It is the one that we go to because we can't deal with all the other ones, and so that's what we put out there. So whenever I see rage, I see anger, I'm like, okay, what's under that? Because this is not the legit feeling that I'm sure is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So,
Often,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, just thinking about, I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking specifically about a situation that was in streamer Twitter for a long time, about somebody like asking about what somebody was going through, and then they just like blew up at them.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And what I noticed, just to piggyback off of what you said, was just this idea of like there was so much rage, but then it made me wonder, like, man, I wonder if that was really fear, like fear of I'm not able to hold this. What am I going to look like if I respond in a certain way? Or how do, maybe there's something coming up for that person that they can't hold and that's bubbling up. So the easiest way to lash out or to take care of it is by, pointing it back to the other person for worry that their stuff won't come out. There's just so many possible, reasons for that, but it felt like a core emotion really could be fear.
Yeah. I've heard that anger is a masking emotion before. I'm going completely off topic, so feel free to
okay.
just can you talk a little bit about more of what some examples of those core emotions are? I feel like it would be cool to understand, just like when you see someone who appears to be so angry, you can kind of step back and be like, what are they actually feeling?
Yeah, I think fear is definitely one of the big ones, right? Fear of getting something wrong, fear of getting in trouble, fear of getting canceled, I think is something that content creators will
Mm.
experience. When the She Who Not Be Named came out with the Harry Potter game, right? Like that was like a big thing. There were some creators who were defending it. There were some people who were like absolutely against it, and these controversies are really, I think, in my opinion, more about guilt and shame than they
Mm.
are fear. Guilt is related to an action, right? Like I do a thing that I feel like goes against my moral compass, it goes against my values. I do something that I interpret as like, that's just not okay. And it's going to motivate me to do something about it, to prevent
Mhm.
that mistake in the future, or to correct, or to apologize, or to do what I need to do. Shame, however, is an internalized experience of that guilt. Shame is this experience we have that I didn't do a bad thing. It's that I'm a bad person. I'm a bad
Mm.
streamer. I'm whatever that might be that we're exploring. And shame, in my opinion, is completely maladaptive. It does not have a function that is going to move us towards resolution, towards mental health. It is just something that we as a society push each other down into. And I think that to me is the core emotion. And shame just gets us to hide. That's all it's trying to do. And that's why we mask through the anger.
That's awesome. Or not
Yeah.
awesome, but you know what I mean. um
Yeah, I think that's a good call, that Elizabeth, just for everyone to really understand where it's coming from, because so often when we feel something or somebody's talking to you and you think it's probably not exactly what I'm feeling, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And it's goes a long way to, when you understand what's going on, it goes a long way to trying to do something about it.
Yeah, and even understanding my own response to other people being angry,
Yeah.
right? It's like, why do I feel angry when someone else is angry? Like there's, you have to sort of look inside yourself too and be like, what am I actually feeling? So it's cool to just, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes I'll be angry and I won't even know why I'm angry, right? So it's a lot of just like self introspection and trying to figure out your own self too. So I was more asking because I'm selfishly curious for myself. um
Well, a
That's
funny thing about that, Elizabeth, is we have this theory about something called mirror neurons. MJ, I don't know if you know a lot about that, right? The idea that
Mhm.
my brain can sync up with other humans' brains, right? And so that
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
start having an emotion inside myself simply because I'm in the presence of someone else. And I think that's why you see the dogpiling on social media, that
100%.
somebody gets upset or posts about something, and then a whole bunch of people just rally behind them, right?
Mhm.
Emotions are contagious, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
that's a
So
cool
much.
way to think
I
about it.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I think like often there's the emotional, like neurological thing that goes on, especially when you know people who are feeling that pain. If a friend or fellow streamer that you see regularly and you're like, man, I see them in so much pain and this person made them so mad, so like they must be insert identity statement here. And so it's difficult because we tend to, go talking about that guilt and then the shame, we tend to go from a space of guilt and into a place of shame where it's like, well, I did this thing, but this must mean this is who I am. And when people don't feel like that aligns with them, they start to fight back and say, well, that's not who I am. But it's hard to now take accountability for the thing that you did do. And so this, and the flip side happens where, you know, when we're bouncing off of each other and all of our emotions are mirroring back and forth and we're picking up on all these things, it's hard to say, well, this person did this thing. That doesn't make them this type of human being because of this action. So it's really difficult, especially in these spaces, to like hold accountability and also like self-compassion at the same time.
Yeah. Accountability is super hard. I struggle with that, just like keeping myself accountable for things, right? So I can only imagine if you're dealing with some kind of deeper emotion, also keeping yourself accountable at the same time. It seems very difficult. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm so glad you guys are here because these are things I don't think about. So next time I see people like raging on social media, I'll be able to kind of like take a little bit of a step back. So that's cool. I guess the next thing that we wanted to talk about specifically, does anybody else have any other comments on what we're currently?
I want to loop
go
us
for
back a little bit if it's okay.
Yeah, do it.
About burnout, streamer burnout.
Yeah.
That experience we go through. One solution that I propose that I do is I have a Discord. Most streamers have a Discord, right, where people can, you know, hang out offline or, you know, build community stuff, have movie nights, whatever they do. But I specifically have an area in my Discord called the Struggle Bus. And so when I'm got somebody in my chat and I'm like, oh, this is a thing that's going to derail this stream and it's kind of off topic, but I want to be still kind and compassionate. I'm like, hey, like I have this channel. It's called the Struggle Bus, and so like I want you to like be heard. I want you to be seen, but I can't right now. Like I just don't have the spoons, right? It's similar with DMs, right? If somebody's DMing me a bunch of stuff and I'm just like, I just like saw like 7 people today who were all like not doing great. I don't have the spoons right now to address this, but I do care about you, right? And I do want to get to it. So I've got the Struggle Bus channel, and so it's got some instructions on there. If you just want venting, let us know. If you want to reply, let us know. Put your spoiler tags in, like, so you just leave it there. And when I have the spoons and the energy, I do reply to every single person's post in there to just be like, hey, this is my thought, or hey, I'm sorry you're going through this, or other community members have the ability to do that. I think what's key is that I check it. I don't just funnel them away and then ignore it, right? I do make sure that I go back to it. And I think that's part of the culture that I like to have in my streams.
Yeah.
That like, yeah, this may not be on topic or this may be irrelevant, but that doesn't mean it's not important. You know? So that's one solution that I would propose if people are trying to figure out like what do I do with that when when stuff comes up.
And that's what I always say. My door is always open, whether it's, you know, I'm not having a good day or I just need help navigating your Discord. And I think the key is to read and respond, as you say, because then people are being heard and seen and responded to and not just ignored. I think that's really important. Like how often do you communicate with someone who there's no reason for them to ignore, but they just didn't get around to it. And then, you know, a few weeks, couple of months later, you think, well, that's a shame. So yeah, that's a great call. Yeah, I like that.
Alley Cat in chat asked, have any of you incorporated the new mental health resources widget Twitch put out? I had not heard of this at all.
No, me neither.
I saw the post about it on the Twitter, but I have not investigated it. I have already on my card where like my socials and stuff are. I have a whole find a therapist section. I have a coping skills section. I have a crisis resources section. So I've already gone ahead and curated those resources for my community. I I also feel like, in a general sense, Take This has a really wonderful database of all those resources collected together if you're interested in that. So I just haven't had a chance, Ellicat, to vet what Twitch has decided to put in there, but
Mhm.
my faith in Twitch safeguarding people's mental health is pretty low.
Mhm.
So maybe it's great. I don't know.
I have no idea about it. I mean, I've seen it on Twitter, but I think it was during a stressful point, trying to like go away from burnout myself. So I'm like, I'll have to put a pin in that. I think it's great, but I haven't gotten a chance to look at it.
Yeah, they say it's a pretty cool widget where people can put in their location and what they're looking for, and it will curate responses. My concern is it's not populated where people that need it will use it. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of it, so
Mhm.
I think that's a fair concern for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Going back to the having like a space in your Discord, maybe this is a personal problem, but when people come into my chat and they're sort of, talking about their personal experiences and it's maybe not the right space and it's making, other people maybe might feel uncomfortable. I feel like it's sort of dismissive if I'm like, hey, can we take this to Discord? Do you have any advice for like certain language that I could use to just be like, like I still really cared. I'm not ignoring you, but just like this isn't the right time.
Mhm. You know, a couple of things come to mind, and one of them is the acknowledgement of like, oh wow, like I'm here, like I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate you feeling comfortable, sharing that with me and the community. And also, I want to make sure that everybody is feeling heard and safe in this space. So, in order for you to feel more heard and more seen, put it in the space where I'll be
Yeah.
able to really put my energy and focus into it. And so, I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes curating it to what matches your personality, what matches your community, but because I often tell my community I'm a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. So I'm like, I love that you feel comfortable, and also we need to make sure everybody's safe. So put this here, and we'll get to it when we can get to it. And if you need other resources, put this command here. You'll find a list of resources, and then usually people feel, somewhat seen.
Yeah, I like that. It's like you're directing them to get more help instead of like pushing them off to the side, right? So I appreciate that. I feel like that's a good tip.
Yeah, it's definitely a big topic, because obviously if somebody's, whether they're just acting up or actually have something they really want to share and get some help with. So we want to know how to do that properly in a way that doesn't necessarily derail everybody else's evening, but also recognizes that as them as a person with a real issue. So having a few little things like that, a few little phrases that we can use to really show, no, I do care, and that's why it's better to, well, take it to Discord or whatever you decide is the best way for you and your community. Yeah, that's fantastic tip.
Yeah, Acid Face in chat is saying that I'm gonna summarize, so if I get it wrong, call me out. That they just tell people that they don't have the emotional space at the moment, and they have found that people have been pretty receptive to that. I think I get in my own head, and I'm afraid I'm like, they're going to get upset that I'm not 100% there for them immediately in the moment. But it is very important, to take care of your own mental health first. I feel like sometimes, especially for me personally, I forget that I come first, and anything else that I have to give, I'm happy to give, but I need to focus on me first. So I like the fact that you're able to communicate Acid Face and people are taking that with, it sounds like a good reaction.
So there's a parallel here to the clinical side, right? When I'm working with somebody and they are experiencing a bona fide mental health crisis, it can be attractive to slip into the wanting to rescue mode, right? Which is, just a normal human response to want to step in and solve the problem. And I have to stop myself from doing that sometimes, right? Because now I've taken away that person's ability to advocate for themselves or to find what they need. That's different, obviously, in a therapeutic context. But I think it's similar in the sense that when somebody comes into your chat and they're experiencing pain and they're in a crisis, you're connecting with that, like that mirror neuron point, right? Like you're going to resonate with how that feels. That's going to start to cause those challenges. And so it's important for you to recognize that, okay, but they came here. They came to your stream. They came to the community that you've been working on curating and building, right? They're already getting what they need just by being present in your space. And so you're already doing enough. You don't need to do a whole bunch right now because they're already getting what they needed, which is to feel seen, to feel connected, and to feel like they're not alone. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're streaming.
Yeah. You put it so
Beautiful.
simply in ways that I've personally never thought about. So that's, just creating a space is doing something to help. So I like that.
Yeah. I like what Acid Face mentioned about like not having the emotional load, because it just the combination of what you just said, a vector of change, and then the like that comment makes me think about how often we feel like we're not doing enough because we're not addressing what the person might be specifically asking or needing at that exact time. But like you're there, you're showing up, and that can be good enough. And at the same time, you might not feel equipped to be able to handle whatever that thing might be. I've gotten a couple of things that I'm like, I'm not equipped for this because this is not the context. So what might resources look like? What might, letting the person know, hey, even though you've even shared, I still don't have anything to do with this, or I don't know what to do with this, which means I need to bring in some support. Here are some things that I found, or here are some resources that you can look at, because I can't properly address that or hold space for that. And I think that's so kind, because it's not putting yourself at risk and also putting the other person at risk for trying when you don't feel equipped and you don't have the spoons for it.
Yeah, I think we can all, well, not all, but me. I keep referencing me because I'm the only me I know. I think I could do a better job of just being more communicative and being like, I don't have the capacity for this right now. And I think, being upfront about what you can and can help with too, I think is help in its own right? Like you're not just going to sit there and pretend you can lend a hand to whatever the person's dealing with. You're just being like, I can't help you, but in nicer ways, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's I'm not a therapist, but I'm more than happy to listen. That I can do.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's very important.
If I add a little bit of a hot take on that?
Yeah.
Do it. Hot takeaway. I love it.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot of people do a disclaimer where like, listen, I'm not a mental health professional, right? And in the way you phrased it, Maya, that's beautiful, right? I'm not a mental health professional, but I can listen, right? Like that is the perfect way to put it. But a lot of people I see do, well, I'm not a professional, so like I don't have to deal with you, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting. And I think that's wrong. That's not the right approach, because I will say, even as a therapist, I still cannot give you therapeutic advice because you are not my client.
Right.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter, right? Whether you're a therapist or not, you're not doing that work. But we can listen, we can create space, and we can be there for the people that we care about, whether we're a professional or not.
Yeah. I don't think that was a very spicy take. I think that was a very fair take. But
Yeah,
try harder next time.
That's so real. That is so very real. Like just that thought of like, you often hear people saying, oh, I'm not a professional. And then they follow it up with, okay, don't talk to me about this. But it's like, I think I actually, have y'all heard of that game, Kind Words? Oh,
Oof. I'm Googling it now, though.
Yes. So Kind Words 2. I saw this. It was basically this you can send anonymous letters to people by like just sharing like what your worries are, and people respond to it with kind words. Everything's anonymous. There are areas in the game where you can go to the bookstore and you can share recommendations, but there's like this main area where you receive letters, you can send letters, you can like share worries, people can respond to you. And I was watching someone stream this, and it was just so powerful and so interesting to see like how community showing up for other people just looked, and it was just, it can be so healing, because I think sometimes, people kind of elevate the role of a therapist or a mental health professional, but really like it seems most meaningful when it's people that are just people, because you're not being paid to do it. It's not like this transaction. It's literally like just being kind, holding space for people and learning how to hold space for people. And so it's a really fascinating game. Every now and then I'll get on there and like, oof, have my heart ripped apart, but I'm just like, oh, this is so beautiful. So.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm looking at it in the Steam store right now, and it looks so lovely. And the concept is so unique too. I haven't heard of anything like that before. Oh, I'm ready. I'm like gonna cry watching the trailer.
It is. I was playing it on stream a couple of weeks ago, and actually had somebody in the chat say like, I was just bawling my eyes out watching Inside Out 2. I don't have the spoons for this, so I will have to leave the chat.
Oh.
And I was like, by all means, like, take care of yourself. But this was like perfect example of community, like knowing their limits, taking care of themselves, and like holding space for each other. And I loved it.
Yeah, sometimes for me, it's like when a stranger is kind to me, it means more than when someone I know is kind to me, which I'm sure there's something to unpack there. But I think it's cool that there's like this space in this game where the whole premise is strangers being kind to each other,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's just a lovely message, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Thank
you for sharing.
It doesn't cost you anything, or it doesn't, it's not much more difficult to just be nice, to be kind, than to be, the other things.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I guess it's easier to be the other things, but
yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I think another topic that sorry.
No, you go. I was going to do exactly the same thing, so you go.
Do it. You do it. I feel like I'm talking too much. Go for it. Your turn.
All right, so we tackle burnout. We've got it down. The next one we were talking about is just sort of the general anxiety about going live on Twitch. It's still a very new thing, and but it's so easy. You just flick that button. But I know a lot of people really have to, talk to themselves for like half an hour before they even switch that button, and they're watching the numbers. Are they high? Are they not high? Am I better than others? And they're doing better, and what am I doing wrong? And it's just this, I know that's a massive topic, but anything that, you can unpick there and, give some sort of tips, advice on how to just get going. Basically.
I gotta sit with that for a second.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
It's just, I remember.
Go ahead.
It was just one. I did this big raid train last year, and lots of people from the community that I'm a member of joined in, which was amazing. But I know quite a few would be messaging me, with a day or two to go. I'm so nervous. I'm really scared. And I tried. Hey, it's going to be awesome. It's a lovely community. They're awesome. But it was just, it was almost crippling for them. But they really wanted to do it. They wanted to be part of the event and the streaming thing. And, other than the sort of, you'll be all right, just relax, try and, breathe and all of those things. What do you say?
Yeah, I apologize if I'm pronouncing names wrong in chat, but Akago says it's hard not to attach ego. Yeah. Akago? Okay. It's hard not to attach ego to the number. So I think, too, when people are like, on the verge of, should I stream? Should I not? It's so easy to push this button, but am I going to be streaming to 0 people? Like, what do I do? Is this even is this going to take a toll on my mental health just in terms of like ego? I feel like is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like you're kind of just expecting something and it doesn't end up happening. So just any tips for someone who's trying to struggle, just kind of putting the numbers aside too.
Mm.
Yeah, I think one thought I have is a lot of people I think tend to do better with that when they don't have their view count pulled up somewhere where they can't see it, right? I think that a lot of streamers I've seen even have a chat rule like do not talk about the stream count, please, because it does have an impact on your anxiety when you're broadcasting. Um, I look at mine once in a while just to like assess like everything's okay, like I'm still live, right? But for the most part, I try to ignore that number. Um, I think it's a challenge though, because I've seen people who have hundreds of views and the chat is just like trickling, right? Like, I don't think that number necessarily equates to like engagement, if you will,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm much happier when I have like two or three people who are just kind of chit-chatting here and there. And when I do a stream, I usually stream for about 6 hours or so. And so like by the end, it's often a whole different set of people that are chit-chatting compared to the beginning, right? And I think that's
Mm.
great. But I think trying to not expose yourself to the information that you're going to just kind of be anxious about. I think it's also a challenge for me. I have goals to stream A for my mental health, right? Because of the work that I do. B, I like to be able to be accessible, right? When people do want to come and dump their trauma in my chat, I feel a little more equipped to handle it than perhaps someone else. Um, and the third reason I stream is that I funnel people into getting into therapy, right? Because I'm creating this persona. Well, maybe not a persona. I'm kind of myself, but the persona, like, hey, yo, I'm one of those weird therapist people, and if you like hanging out with me,
Mhm.
mayhaps we're not so scary, and you might want to go explore that. Um, I'm not here to be a full-time streamer, right? I don't make the revenue from streaming that I make from my private practice. I don't think I could ever sustainably do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I do know that there, for some people, is their living, right? Like this is their goal, like this is their plan, and it's brutal. It is
Yeah.
brutal,
Yeah.
that grind.
Mhm.
So to
Mhm.
me, I think it's more important that you really enjoy what you're doing, that what you're doing to stream is something that you're liking. If you're playing a game and you're not having fun with it, delete it. Play something else, right? Do an
Mhm.
activity that you enjoy. And if chat isn't showing up, but you're having a damn good time playing whatever, that's what you need to do because that is what's going to help you sustainably get through it. You need that positive experience of what you like doing to continue to do this day in and day out because it's hard. Content
Mm-hmm.
creation is a really lonely, hard place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is true. And
Absolutely. Go
sorry,
ahead.
MJ, no, you go.
I was just gonna say, man, I mean, that's so true. And what I think about is just the differences between like why people stream and how that anxiety, like what the different anxieties come up for them. Like, what are those? Because somebody's anxiety could be, you know, fear of disappointment that people won't show up or people won't chat, or fear of being seen, that people will see them and they'll make a mistake, and then something, they'll have a certain perception. But then there is the fear of like full-time content creators who they worry about finances, which is a very real thing,
Yep.
and it's very really attached to their streaming. And so I don't know if this is like a popular take, but when I think about the differences between people who stream for fun or people who stream for different reasons outside of like financial security, it feels like those people have to take different approaches and really look into like, how do I improve my actual content, as a person who's a professional in content, so that I can make my revenue, versus like people who just stream for fun. Like, they might be able to easily say, oh, well, I don't feel like streaming today, or I don't, I want to do this instead of this, or I want to have this up instead of that. And then it's perfectly fine, but it affects them differently. And so it just makes me think about just like though the approach to care and self-care might look different for those people who are, more full-time content creators rather than part-time. And I know I'm kind of being long-winded, but it's making me also think about clinical work. So in private practice, you like a lot of times you don't have the same, stream of clients coming in as some people who might be in a agency because of the differences in resources. And you might have a whole lot of clients coming in, but if you're doing part-time therapy and you have a full-time job, then you might take one or two clients. And then if when it comes to like the investment into your work, into your practice, you have to focus really hard on certain things like, how your practice looks and what it looks like and how to figure out the numbers. Whereas somebody who's doing part-time might just be like, I'll see a client or two, but I got my, backup. So, okay, I'll stop talking now. But
no, we love it.
No, yes, we do. And yeah, that's so true. Because and I don't want to sort of say if you're just doing it for fun, it's easy. Absolutely not. But because we sort of just transitioned into full-time content creation, there are two of us at Ninja Pool, so that makes life a lot easier. And it's not just Twitch, but still, just that transition. The main sort of, I guess, not necessarily worry, but the goal for me is to not make, hey, I need to make money out of this to detract from the actual streams and having fun. I think what Acid Face is saying as well, the raid train was so much fun. Yes, and talking about how, I can see it looks like some streamers are just overdoing it, streaming so much, always there because they're trying to chase the numbers, trying to chase all of that. And I totally get it, but I'm really, really trying not to let that derail the fun, because that's, people like someone like Acid Face, I just mentioned, I'm being really bad at having a drink or stretching if I'm doing a 4, 6, 8 hour stream. So they've been posting stretch and drink in my streams, like a lot, just so I don't forget. And I just think that's really sweet and really incredible in that community. And that's why I'm doing it. So those are the sort of things, those, whether they're little or subs, like Kamal, thank you so much. There we go. Stretch, everyone. Thank you. And hydrate. Thank you. Those are the reminders why I'm doing it. It's the community. But yeah, the money, it's
hydrate.
Let's go. But it is real. And we do have to think about it. And not to let that, so hiding numbers was, I think that quite a few people have said that they just hide the numbers. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, I liked what Acid Face said as well, that if you look like you're not having fun, then it shows, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times I'll be like sitting, because I have a day job, right? I stream in the evenings and it's mainly for fun. Like I don't make huge amounts of money where I could ever consider quitting my day job, right? So sometimes at the end of my day job time, I'm like I'm so tired, like I don't really want to do this. And I feel like those are the streams where people can tell I don't want to be there. Like, what's the point, right? You want to be having fun. You want to be showing up in a positive way. And if you're not, people aren't going to want to hang out with somebody who's like being a Debbie Downer, right?
Miserable, yeah.
Yeah. So I like that, what you said a lot, Acid Face, about, it shows.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
I think
I think the strategies are going to be very different depending if you're a full-time or you're a part-time streamer. I think full-time streamers, you've got to figure out your own flow and balance, because that is your job, that is your livelihood, and that's going to have a big impact on your mental health, because it's not like someone's just signing you a paycheck, right? You're working your booty off, and a lot of that money that I've seen for full-time content creation isn't even from streaming. It's from the sponsorships. It's from those relationships that you're making with companies that want you to continue to make the content, advertise their products. Twitch, I don't think, is going to be the main source of revenue that I've noticed in a lot of full-time content creation. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a full-time content creator, but that's what I've seen in terms of the breakdown when some people have been transparent with their figures. But part-time creation, I think my thought is, like, if I'm like not having the spoons to stream, I do have a schedule that I tend to follow, but I cancel streams all the time. Like, it's fine. I do bonus streams all the time because, like, Final Fantasy 14, I love that game, and sometimes there's a live letter in Japan in the degen hours, and I want to hang out and I want to watch and I want to react to it. And sometimes people come, sometimes they don't, but I do it because it's something I love and I enjoy, right? I think for me, or for part-time content creation, I think you need to stream when you feel you've got the energy, you've got the ability to do it, when you feel like you're going to have a good time. And if you need to cancel, it's fine. I think when you're a smaller content creator, less streams is actually better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we keep hearing that.
Even as a
I
full-time
mean-
content creator, if I'm not having a good time, if I'm having a bad day, I will just be honest with the community, say not a good day. It's don't worry, I'm good, but I'm not going to be my usual bubbly self, and I just don't think there's much point of pressing on with a stream if it's not going to be fun for me. It's not going to be fun for the community. So, but yeah, QXP RPG. If it comes up today, I'm curious about balancing personal stuff versus being open and vulnerable. I want people to not feel alone, but I don't want to dump on them either. I think that's
Good
a
question.
good one.
Too when people this is such a, I don't know if this is an American thing, when people ask hi, how are you, and people just say good, how are you, like it's just your auto response even if you're not feeling good. And I never know when I'm like, am I allowed to tell you that I'm not feeling good? Like should I just say good, how are you back? Like I think it's a super good question.
So
I
many
guess-
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Quex, you're bringing up like the idea of not only are we talking about content creators, right, on the platform, we're also talking about people who just enjoy Twitch streams. Like I'm both, right? I like to stream, but I also love to hang out in streams. And I think the way a lot of folks tend to balance it is when they're doing just like a regular stream, I tend to like not go too deep, right? Unless it's relevant, unless it's a topic that's being discussed, I tend to not go too deep in self-disclosure. But if we're doing like a specialty podcast, just chatting kind of segment, shout out to Lana Kane. She does this a lot where she has like coffee and chill right in the morning. And like it is all about content creation, or all about curating content around mental health or various topics. And so she's going off and we're kind of vibing, and it's a welcome and inviting space to be able to do that. And so I think, Quex, it's kind of an assessment you have to make when you're in a stream of what kind of person is this content creator, what kind of a space are they curating, because there's some places that's totally open and welcome. Like mine is one of them. People sometimes throw off color comments and I'll address them, but not everybody is me, right? Everyone's going to have their own way they're going to manage their space, and in reality they're going to tell you, or their moderators are going to kind of let you know. And I think people maybe need to consider using that warning system a little bit better that Twitch has implemented, so that you can anonymously be like, hey, we see your comment, but like this is off topic or whatever. I think that could be a tool that we use as content creators or moderators to better help facilitate that. I know I had a conversation with one of my streaming friends about somebody who, what is it they were doing? Now I can't remember. I'm like, well, add it to your rules. And then now you can do the warning, right? And you can let them know, like, hey, like, we're not going to do that. That's not okay, right? And I think that there's different ways we can do that, but it is a challenge to know, like, is this the right time? Is this the right space?
No, I 100% agree. I think personally, vulnerability is an interesting dynamic because sometimes you can tell people certain things, and that's a certain level of vulnerability, but also there's like an openness in telling those things, a view into somebody's emotions. And so sometimes I think that I can self-disclose, but I'm not showing a whole lot of emotional vulnerability, because I think that, and this is my therapist mode comes in often on stream, where I feel like when somebody asks me, like, how are you doing? Like a client might ask me, how are you doing? And I'll just be honest and say, well, it's been a rough day, but insert, whatever to transition the topic, because, everybody has their own stuff, and in clinical work, it's important for me to make sure that my clients don't feel like they have to take care of me. And so I'm not gonna like, yeah, I'm having a hard day and I'm struggling so deeply, and then they go into, well, tell me about it. That's not gonna happen. And so I kind of tend to do a similar thing on stream where I'm like, man, it's been hard, y'all, but this is what we're gonna do today. And so I think I struggle with that balance sometimes of that, like, the personal versus the like vulnerability and what to hold. And so I kind of go off of what we're talking about in the chat, like what the topic is. Like you mentioned, effective change, like what's the topic, what's the vibe? Are we in the middle of playing Call of Duty, or are we are we podcasting? Are we talking about mental health? And so it's a very nuanced thing for me in my experience.
Yeah, sort of feel the room, I guess, is and also what is your community like? If it's just playing some hardcore shooters, not really saying much, then perhaps sharing is just not going to come across that easily, I guess. But well, I guess this is less about content creators or community figures and more about individual gamers, like in general. But I've always get the impression that most people behave like that, fine, I'm totally fine. It's our duty to be okay and get on with things. And we do this until something breaks. And we have to admit that we're not fine. Maybe we haven't been fine for a while. So how important do you think it is to find and create an appropriate dialogue where we can be honest about this stuff, just so we can avoid that trap?
So FINE is an acronym. Do you know what it stands for?
No.
When someone says they're fine, what they might be saying is, I'm fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes.
I love it.
Right? To me, when someone says they're fine, that is like, ding, 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 they're not fine. Like, what's going on, right? And I'm gonna poke a little bit and prod. But again, that's probably the therapist in me, right? Doing my work. But I think that it's really easy to give out that masked kind of response or masked answer on things. To me, I think part of what can be useful there, Maya, is instead of like just going directly into gameplay during your stream, it can be really helpful to spend that 30 minutes, 60 minutes beforehand catching up, doing a little chit chat. That is a good space to have that. I know What's Up It's Q. I don't know if you guys know him. He has a command called Trauma Dump. And so he like goes to the little stairs and it's raining and he like fields all of the stuff to give people an opportunity to kind of catch up and chat like what's been going on. And then he kind of transitions his stream into more the content, right? Of what he usually likes to play or stream or do. You don't have to be as like explicit as that. But I think it can be useful to do that and create some regular opportunities to do that. Like when I get raided, for example, is a good opportunity to pause and let's chat. Like let's get to know each other a little bit. And those little breaks that we have oftentimes I think can do that. I think it's also useful for some content creators to just do a just chatting stream where we do a podcast or something like this, or a raid train or an event. Or a charity stream where we have a conversation about a relevant topic. I think rather than putting it off, I think it's just a good practice to build those conversations into the content you're creating and the community that you're making. Maybe it's just a Discord night. I don't know, maybe we have a PowerPoint evening. Who knows? It's up to you to decide how you want to create that, but I think you can't ignore it.
I want to add, I feel like I 100% agree. And I think as gamers, we tend to, when we feel these emotions, we tend to pull away. And sometimes it can be helpful, an helpful outlet. But then sometimes it can be just a way to kind of stuff. And one thing that I tell my community all the time is like, let's do a mental body scan from head to toe. Let's notice what we're experiencing in our heads, in our throats, in our stomachs. Just notice it and see what you're feeling. And then that can just be a check-in. You don't even have to come up with oh, I'm feeling so horrible or insecure or frustrated or whatever. It's just the like giving attention to your body to say like, I see you. I'm still going to play this game. I'm still going to shoot up some things, but I see you for a moment. And that can be a way to kind of alleviate some of the pent up stuff without even having to try to find words if you don't have them.
I love that. By the way, there's some questions in the chat. Yeah, if you just joined us in the last 20 minutes or so, this is a very special stream of the Natural Beauty Podcast, where we're joined by MJ Hart, an effector of change, both licensed therapists and streamers with an interest in the intersection between the two, mental health in gaming and content creation. Something we could all use a little more of, right? So once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is great. So yeah, if there are any questions though, guys, do ask.
Yeah, I think not to completely jump to a different topic, so let me know if anyone has any last thoughts. But I think something that's relevant to both content creators as well as just humans is I struggle a lot, and I know other creators do as well, is kind of comparing yourself to others. Like you look at another streamer and you're like, well, why do they have 100+ viewers on their stream? Why do I only have 10? Or whatever it is, whatever thing you might be comparing. Do you have any advice or thoughts on how to compare yourself in a healthy way? I feel like it's impossible not to compare, right? But there's got to be a way that I or anyone else can kind of do it in a way that's not detrimental to your mental health.
When I think about all of the like inventions of the last 10 years, and the one that I think has been the worst on humanity in terms of consequence and impact, it is social media.
Yep.
As much as social media can bring us together and unite causes and like get information disseminated, it is forcing us to constantly be in comparison with other people, whether that be TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, right? Any kind of social media. When you look at Erickson's ages and stages of development, right? And you get to that like adolescent stage of separation, individuation, it is significantly delayed in the human population because of the interference, in my opinion, of social media, where we don't necessarily get that point where like I just know who I am, right? That sense of self, of like what I like, what I don't like. We're constantly looking to the group to figure out what that is. And so I agree with your point there, Elizabeth. I don't think we're going to get out of that anytime soon because of the way the technology is a crucial part of our daily lives. And so I think it can be really useful to just catch yourself when you're doing it, right? When you notice that you're comparing yourself, I think it's okay, right? I've looked at numbers. I have a content creator friend who's one of my besties, and her and I started our journeys around the same time. And sometimes I'll look at her stats and then I'll look at mine. I'll be like, how come you're doing better than me? Or how come I'm doing better than you? But she's one of my best friends, right? Like I don't hold any ill will or malice towards her, and we can have conversations about it together, and we can be silly with each other, and we make time for each other despite how busy one or the other of us might be. I think being able to just own it and recognize that it's not an elephant in the room, it is a part of our daily lives. And at the same time, know when we need to put down those numbers, know when we just need to be a human being in existence with other people. That's why I think it's important to hang out with people out of streams, out of content creation, right? You need to have other opportunities to build those connections of just being a human who likes other humans, right?
Yeah.
And that could be playing Final Fantasy 14. That could be going to your local board game store and playing Magic. That could be, I don't know, go to a drag show. I don't care. Like, just, it's important to just connect with other humans. And that way we have a diversity of experiences that we can compare ourselves to, rather than just getting niched down into the toxicity of am I better or not as a content creator or whatever.
Yeah. Out of interest in chat, if you guys feel comfortable sharing, but how much time do you spend on social media a day, do you think? Because I I kind of don't like social media. I frankly feel like I don't have a clue how social media works. I'm looking at a post and I think, oh, I thought that was a nice post, but nobody likes it. Oh, well. But I'm still there. I'm still, because often I will see an opportunity, something like Twitch Women's Guild. If I hadn't been scrolling this time last year, I wouldn't have been able to apply. So I think, well, I don't want to miss out on these opportunities. But of course, 99% of my time there is just sort of, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I should also be doing this. And it's just... It's not good for me.
Well, if Twitch counts as social media, I am on it far too much. But yeah, it's definitely a blessing and a curse. I like what... Oh, go ahead. Go.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay.
You.
I was just going to say, I love what you said, a factor of change. Like, just the inevitability of comparing is so real. And one thing that I try to, I think would be helpful for people, and I try to do often, is this: when I feel like, I often refer to identity, like kind of like that guilt and shame that you described earlier, of like, what am I doing versus who am I? And if I notice myself dipping into the comparison of who am I, then I play the tape to the end. I think about, okay, me and this person, we're different, and I'm comparing myself. Okay, well, what is it? Like, how are we different? How are we similar? What are their different circumstances that I might know of versus my circumstances? And then, like, really processing through to really look at the differentiation between those different identities and why those numbers don't match up. I think last year I was like, I'm in school, I'm working, I'm doing all of these things, I barely stream. Of course, our numbers are different. And so it can be helpful to kind of like pull the self out of the identity piece and look at what is happening that's just different. Like, what are some of the logical facts of the situation? And so I think often going into, like, leaning into the comparison sometimes can be helpful, not all the time, but leaning into the comparison of, okay, I have this goal. How do I get to this goal? All right, that might require some looking at other people. That might require looking at what works. But then if you start to feel yourself going into the I am insert kind of person here, then pull it back to what am I doing versus who am I? Because you're worthy regardless. But when it comes to performance, when it comes to output of I guess impact, societal impact, what does that look like? So yeah, that tends to help me personally.
Yeah, I just Alley Cat in chat says they schedule breaks, which I think is awesome, and I might start doing myself, just to kind of like take time away from all of the, comparing and madness of social media. So I think that's a cool idea too.
I have a funny incident I'll share with you guys. I've been having some issues with my car. It's having electrical problems. And so I had my phone out with the flashlight as I'm like attempting to connect the jump charger thing. And like, it's dark, it's night. And all of a sudden my phone decides it's going to go into the engine.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I could not get it out. I had a buddy come over to try to get it. That's why I said you were asking for a picture for this promo. I'm like, I don't have my phone right now, so this is what we got to work with. It was stuck in my car, right?
Oh, good.
So I have a backup phone, but it's not linked into any of my like socials or anything. Like, and my two-factor authentication's all on this device, right? So like, I had no social media outside of when I was on my PC for like, I don't know, 2 days, when I finally was able to get like the granny grabber to pull it out, so to rescue my phone. And what a difference just 2 days being without access to social media had on my brain. I'm chronically online. Absolutely. I admit it. I know it. But yeah, I think it can be really useful to be able to schedule those breaks, to find ways to disable your access to certain apps if you need to. Some people I know will delete them.
I ask my partner to hide my phone.
Install it every time. Hide your phone, right? I remember the funny thing. There's these little locks you can get where you put all the phones at dinner in the cage and you set a timer and you can't open it to get your phone out until the timer's up, right? There's silly ways that you can engage with this idea, but I 100% agree. Having those breaks, having those times away is so good for our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Burden, like 30 minutes a day, I think taking a huge break from it for about a year has allowed me to see through the rabbit catches, the pull far too, like pictures meant to make you envious, rage bait, all that stuff. Wow, yeah, that's a year of social media. Sounds pretty good.
Tell us more about Opal, MJ. I'm curious.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, Alley Cat has a love-hate relationship with Opal. So Opal is this app I found a while back, and I have a couple of apps I'll let y'all know about. So Opal is basically this app that blocks off certain apps. Like you can have certain settings where you name it like, evening time, where you turn off your email and your certain social media, and you can't even go to the website, or it'll like give you this like affirmation. It'll say, "What are you doing here?"
Ooh.
You got to go back to like enjoying and being present, and then it'll block you. And so there are different settings where you can make it light, or you can like make it strict. And when I did that, I used it a few times and made it strict. And I could not turn it off until the end of the time that I said that I needed to turn it off. And so that app is extremely helpful. I would recommend it for people who really feel like, okay, I don't have any self-control here, like me. I struggle with self-control. So you need a little bit of extra help. And Opal is like that. So, yeah.
Listen, Alley Cat, when that lady comes up on my feed, I'm going to keep scrolling now because I'm mad.
Yes, the lady on TikTok. Are you still looking at TikTok? You should get off and sleep.
Can you still make emergency calls in strict mode?
Yeah, because so the way that Opal works, and I think Opal should be sponsoring me at this point, but the way that Opal works is that it has you can set whatever apps. Like if you are just like, I don't want to look at X, Twitter, whatever, then you can just block that one app. I wouldn't block the phone app, so you can always make calls or whatever. It doesn't block off your whole phone. It just blocks off the specific apps that you choose, and the websites that you choose. So it's pretty good. I like it.
As grown-ups, we sometimes do need parental controls, guys. Adulting's hard.
It is so hard. It's actually, there's this other app called Forfeit that I use with myself and my clients. I told my clients about it. I told my supervisees about it, getting their notes done. It's this app that kind of replicates one of like my favorite therapeutic tools, which is called an ordeal, where basically, it's like a contract. If you don't do this thing, or if you do this thing, then you have to pay a certain amount of money. And people don't like to lose money. So there's that. I actually did that when I was driving with a friend. For whatever reason, we always argue whenever we're together. It's literally too much. But we decided, all right, we are driving from, Kansas City to California. We can't do this. So we set up an ordeal where and this was back in 2016, if we started an argument, then we both have to pay $100 to the person who we didn't want to vote for. Yeah, in 2016. So it worked. We didn't argue at all. And so I think that it was one of those kind of self-control, but it was a fun play in a sense, but it still got what we needed to get done. And so using certain tools like that is really helpful for me, especially when it comes to content creation. And as someone who's neurodivergent, those kinds of tools are super helpful. So Opal and Forfeit.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, see what's up with it. If one installs an app that blocks stuff in order to overcome the inability to avoid using that stuff, they do not need an app, but they require therapy. Well, that's the thing, because social media and all of this is still so very new. 10, 20 years ago, it just wasn't a thing. And if you are a content creator or anyone who, pretty much anyone these days who's at least part of their business or work is online, like my phone is my office. Everything I can do on my phone, and I work for myself. So for me, it's like, well, if I'm not doing anything, then nobody else is doing anything. It's just really hard to not check. Or if you know that somebody in your community was having a bad day, you just want to check in. But yeah, it's those times when you just need to say, you know what, it's time for me. I need this evening off, but the phone is right there. So actually, whether you have an app or hide it, I'm a big proponent of that. It helps. You're not wrong that it's potentially not healthy, and that's why we do these things and try and find tools that will help us to overcome it. Yeah, if you can't take a break for a year or a few weeks at a time, something like this, a short break, I'd imagine is much better than nothing. And it's
Totally.
yeah. If you told me that 20 years ago I'd have my phone like basically growing out of my hand, I'd be like, of course not. But I'm so used to it now. Yeah. I find it very difficult to
I
ignore
want
it.
to point out in response to Will Sub's comment is that on one hand, I totally agree, right? If it has become an addictive behavior to the point where self-control is really unmanageable, yeah, you might want to consider getting some professional help. But I'll also add, a lot of people aren't able to access that for reasons, stigma is still a problem. People feel ashamed when they're having challenges, and so reaching out for help is an organic choice as clipping a switch, right? It's really challenging to do that. And the second challenge is it's really hard to get access to professional care. A lot of people in private practice, they don't accept insurance. They don't have a very big caseload, right? And so getting the right access to the right people can be really hard. And so sometimes it's just not an affordable option. I remember having somebody whose insurance plan came in, and I'm looking at it, and it was like a $3,000 deductible before it would kick in. I'm like, is that even insurance at this point? Like, what is this? I don't understand. So yes, I agree, but I also want to point out, like, it's a privilege to be able to access mental health care in some respects. And so we have to find other tools or other ways that are going to help us figure out what we need to do when we don't have the ability to do that.
Yep.
That is one of the main reasons I was so delighted when Elizabeth said, hey, I have these two absolutely lovely people that will join us and we can talk mental health, because people come to me and, I'm, as I said, I'm happy to listen, but ultimately, I can't offer the help that a licensed professional can. And very often the response is, I either can't afford it, or it's not that easy in my country, or I can tell I don't feel comfortable really actually asking for help. So I feel privileged that they do come to me. But of course, yeah, that really sucks. So that's why I'm so delighted that we're talking, and anything that can help before people are able to, if people are not able to find professional help, I think is wonderful. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so important for us content creators and leaders in our communities to learn how to hold space, just to be able to be present and present with the people that we're holding space for in all these other areas, like, gaming, or, somebody has a hard day, whatever it is. Because it's true, there's not a whole lot of, affordable options when it comes to mental health. And also relationships are so healing, just genuine relationships are so healing. And so actually my dissertation was on what people seek, or how people on social media seek, specifically relationship information and education, but even mental health education. And what they tend to do is go to the friends that they know or the content creators that they trust. And so if content creators were equipped, aka, learning certain ways to, lead their folks to resources or be able to listen. And then if they had their capacity increased, like taking care of your own, like yourself and what, basically immense self-care, then I think that a lot of people would benefit from that. So I think that's super important that we're having these conversations.
Yeah, I want to shout out NAMI. I don't know about other countries, but NAMI is the National Association for Mental Illness in the United States. Most places have a local chapter of the organization, and they will do free trainings called Mental Health First Aid, where you can learn. It's mostly geared towards working with youth who are experiencing some mental health challenges, but you can pick up some of those words. You can pick up some of those skills, right? And like how to communicate or how to deal with a situation like that in a way that's compassionate, that is warm, that is not cold, that is not going to push someone out. And I think that ideally I'd love to see somebody out there, I don't know if I'm going to do it, somebody out there make a course, right? To be able to
I just posted the
help
link.
moderators or content creators be able to explore strategies on navigating those conversations and do some role plays and have some vidges. Maybe MJ, you and I need to talk about that. But
I was just about to say.
I feel like that would be really a wonderful experience to be able to offer, is like some kind of first aid for the content creation space. But NAMI is a good place to start. There's a lot of education on their website. If you haven't checked them out before, definitely would recommend that.
I love that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's as someone who I have insurance, and I've seen mental health professionals during the pandemic, for example. I had to wait months to have a mental health professional that was actually available. So it's hard just in general, even if you do have access to insurance or resources. It seems to be a lot harder than it should be. But I get there are capacity constraints too and things to think about. So I'm thankful for the two of you for, lending your time for those that really do need assistance. But I think NAMI is a great resource as well. I've actually used it myself, so I highly recommend. Cool.
Yeah, that's I think I'm gonna add a little section to my Discord with a few of these links, stuff like that, so we can just refer people, with these, because I haven't heard of this, so this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'll link for you guys in the Discord. I have a bunch of resources curated on my card. Feel free to steal it. I don't care.
I was gonna ask if you wouldn't mind if I could steal it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, steal it. You don't need to credit me. I'm not gatekeeping, but there's definitely some resources there if you want to go check them out that are good.
Awesome, thank you. So, shall we just look at some general tips, tools to improve mental health? I know, again, massive topic, but anything that you have, I guess it all comes down to, a little bit of fear. Do I stream? Do I not stream? Am I, is somebody going to watch? But what, are there any exercises or anything that, you can recommend that people do to get themselves into the right headspace?
Take your ad breaks to walk around your space, to get a little beverage, to go check your mail, to go pet your cat. Take that 3 minutes every hour. It is really helpful to keep you going and to encourage other people to take care of themselves too.
That's so good. I'm literally writing that down.
Me too.
No, that's so good. So good. I feel like, the ad breaks would be absolutely amazing. And so I tend to, just keep talking through my ads. So I think no, this is great.
Yeah, I know it's a cliche phrase, but this is something that really helps for me. I'm not a mental health professional, so this is just my own personal experience. But touching grass, like going outside, sometimes I forget, literally, I'll forget to go outside People will be like, "Oh, what's the weather today?" Just like making a casual conversation. I'll be like, "You know what? I have no idea because I have not set foot outside." So that's something that really helps me. It's just kind of like getting out of my cave and just kind of experiencing nature and the outdoors.
Yeah, yeah. I want to say for me, I noticed that like the body and the brain are so connected that it's whenever I neglect my body, then often my brain follows. And so one thing that I try to do, like especially when I notice that I'm kind of on the struggle bus, like I will say, okay, what do I actually need physically? Like what are my physical needs? What do I need to eat? What do I need to take medication? Do I need to, drink some water? Do I need air? What is it? And attending to those needs. And even if you don't know, like really even taking some proactive steps like eating healthy. Like, let me tell you, when I eat a bag of Skittles, which I shouldn't be doing ever because it's really rough on me, then it's like my brain is scrambled. And so just being aware of like what you put in your body and noticing the effect of it, because if you are, let me back up. My brain is like, going all over the place. But I'm thinking about the ability to have the capacity for stress. Like sometimes going live is just going to be stressful for some people, depending on what's coming up. But how are you able to cope with that stress and hold that stress? And your capacity is going to be based on a lot of different factors. But one of the biggest factors is like your physical, like okayness. So in order to be able to hold more space for that anxiety and be able to go live, make sure that you're taking care of your body. And that's one thing that helps me.
Yeah. Sleep schedule for me too. I'm really, really bad about consistent sleep schedules. And I find, when I have a week where I am paying attention to consistent and good sleep schedule, I feel so much better mentally.
I usually go like to my DBT roots and I point out the please skill. Taking care of the body is what takes care of the mind. You need to sleep, you need to move, you need to eat. All of that stuff is relevant. A resource that I really like that I recommend to people, it's like the only one that I can find that is free still, is the Insight Timer app. Insight Timer is a free app that has mindfulness resources and exercises, ambient sounds, music, to do some relaxation. There's spiritual stuff on there. If you wanna do the Jesus stuff, it's there, right? Like it's thousands and thousands and thousands of free recordings. I recommend to folks that I'm working with 10 minutes a day of some kind of grounding exercise, whether that's listening to a meditation or sitting listening to the water or holding a plant, petting your cat, like whatever. Do that 10 minutes a day. It's so helpful for you. And Insight Timer is just a free resource that some people find useful to be able to connect and work on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I do a lot of excuse making for myself, like, oh, I don't have time to focus on, mental health today. And I feel like that's a good tool where it's like it feels like it's in a manageable amount of time that I literally can't say to myself, oh, I don't have 10 minutes for my mental health today. Sorry. So I like that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I know that, Elizabeth, you also have doggies. Just having the dog, super happy in the morning. Yes, we're going outside, so I don't have a choice, but I love it. It's my days would be so different if I just didn't get out there. Just not literally get lost, but just wander around. Even if it's raining, doesn't matter, because she's going to be happy no matter what because we're outside. So, and it makes a huge difference. So I would definitely recommend. I'm not saying get a dog. You can do it without a dog, but it's a wonderful way to start the day.
You can take yourself on a walk. You don't need the dog.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they make apps for that too. If you are like things that gamify exercise, Pokemon Go, I've gotten very obsessed with it. And you're outside and you're walking and you're also playing a game at the same time. So it's pretty cool.
I don't know the name of it, but there's an app that you can get that is like a zombie app. So like you put it in your ears and the music like gets intense, like you're getting chased by zombies, and so you have to move. You have to keep moving.
That
Wow.
sounds kind of terrifying, but
It's
also
a whole
hilarious.
I'm looking for it.
It's a whole journey too. They like start you off at this camp and you have to make it to the next camp. Ugh.
I mean, I guess zombies would get me moving, not like, the Nike Run apps. Like, come on, you can do it. I'm like, why? With a zombie chasing me, I'm like, okay, I get why.
Yeah, I like what Safabi is saying. Ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I like how I feel? Is it how I want to feel? And what do I need to do in order to feel the way I want to feel? That made sense, right? Just, I think, sort of stopping and actually thinking, hang on, where am I? Why am I upset about this or that? I think we touched on that when we started. Just identifying what it is that's making you feel sad, angry, fearful, whatever it is, but just identifying it. What is it? How am I feeling, and what's causing it? I guess some things to unwrap will take some time, but just sort of the basic of, hang on, I'm getting emotional. Maybe I should just sit down for 10 minutes or go outside for 10 minutes and just breathe.
I like what want to point out what Kamal said, that streaming is literally my relaxing time. I have a 50-hour job, play football, I have a lot of social stuff. I'm the similar way. Like my day job does take up a lot of energy, and so streaming is my fun time. It's my relaxing time. I think for a lot of people, getting into content creation is a way to get away from whatever chaos you might have in your family or in your life. And so toxic positivity is not it, right? Like, we can't just say go touch grass. Like, that's what you need to do. People have physical limitations. People have reasons why they can't do that. And so as a general sense, it's just important that you do what's best for you, to give yourself that break and to take care of you, I think, is the kind of the general theme. And that may not look for you what it looks like for me or it looks like for MJ, right? Like, everyone's got their own plans, but having a self-care plan needs to be something that we think about, we write it down, and we put it into our schedules. Put that in the calendar. If you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen.
I want to, I think we talked a little bit earlier about just if you are struggling, take care of your mental health, and if you have to cancel a stream, then do it. For me, I noticed that when I started to, maybe last year, I would feel oh, I don't feel like it. And then I would cancel stream, multiple times. And for me, I'm noticing now that I'm on a regular schedule that the canceling was taking away the self-care plan. It was not making space for that. And so now when I feel I'm so tired, I'm just, I don't have the energy, I will still stream, because for whatever reason, I start to feel energized and I start to feel connected and feel oh, this is actually good. This is actually fun. And it's something that, that consistency helps my emotional state. And so it's kind of the flip side for me when it comes to if I'm not feeling well. If I'm not feeling well, then really do it. Because it's gonna help, unless it's, one of those situations where you really, really gotta cancel. But
I want to just point out how helpful it is to have a PNG tuber, because when you are in low spoons mode, or you're just not there, not having the pressure of what is your face looking like can really help you get in. I know a lot of people, myself included, putting up a PNG can be really useful. VideoTube is a free app that anyone can download. You just put in a couple static images in there. I just got my Warrior of Light from Final Fantasy 14 and threw some images in there, and so it's a little Augustine yapping when I talk. It's super cute, super easy to do, and I definitely would recommend that as just something to do if you have a Gremlin stream, right? Have a moment. VEADO Tube is the app, Quax.
I don't even have cam, so for me that's an easy one, but I 100%.
Mine is always a gremlin.
Exactly.
But yeah, I have a PNG tuber, and it's I rarely use it, but when I do, it's just nice to know that you have it, right? At the end of the day, I'm ugh, like I haven't brushed my hair today. Like, do I really want to go on stream? And it's like, okay, it's there if I need it, which it takes a lot of the pressure off for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to
Mhm.
Eyes on B for teaching me that tip.
I just saw that message from Acid Face. At work on Tuesdays, we had therapy dogs and puppies visit. I went to see, and the queue was so long. Shows the need for connection is universal and a huge need for everyone. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, just finding the motivation sometimes to do what you need is hard. At least for me, it's like I know what I should be doing to improve mental health and just like overall body health, but sometimes like finding that like, okay, I'm gonna get started kind of thing. Even if I schedule it in, I'm like, yeah, do I really want to go for a walk right now? No, I could just keep sitting in this chair, and it's hard to just kind of like do the things that you know are right and what you need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I think it can be helpful to have fellow content creators like, hold you accountable. I know every now and then I'll like, I'll be like, hey, Alley Cat, you free for a chat while I go grocery shopping? Because, it's like, I gotta go grocery shopping. I don't feel like it. But if I'm talking to my content creator friends and we can nerd out, then like, okay, I can do this stuff that I should do that, I kind of feel like I need support. And that's a way to get it. Like getting people that are in the same journey to hold you accountable.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Having like a buddy for sure for any kind of activity that you're trying to get yourself into the habit of starting to do can be super helpful.
Mhm, mhm,
Just building habits in general, I feel like are hard, but once you have the foundation, it becomes a lot easier. It's just starting it that's hard.
mhm, mhm.
Speaking of
Cool.
starting new habits, so New Year's coming up soonish. Sorry, I know I'm not going to say the C word. That's also coming up. But New
I
Year's
live in the future, guys, the far future.
New Year's resolutions. Does anybody make those?
I do.
So there's a yes and then there's a no.
Yeah. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I make New Year's resolutions. Do I stick to them ever? No. But yeah, let's hear professional opinions on New Year's resolutions, not people who just don't do them.
I just
Silence.
I think for me, my like time to do like the evaluation, New Year's, whatever, I usually attach it to anniversary events. So like, maybe when I started my private practice, that's a good time to really evaluate like what are my goals of what I'm trying to accomplish with my business, right? I just raised my rates. That was a big change, right? Like, holy crap. I'm not going to make a big decision for a while. Like, I'm good. My birthday is another anniversary, right? Where I take a look at, like, who was I? Where was I? What was going on back then? I ended a pretty toxic relationship about a year ago. That's coming up. And so it's another point of, like, what was that experience? Like, what am I doing? How's things going, right? So for me, I don't attach it to, like, the New Year's thing, but I do contemplate like and take the time when those certain like milestone moments come up of like where am I at, what am I doing, and what I'm moving towards. I feel it's artificial, a lot of people who make New Year's resolutions, because it's such a meme at this point, like I'm gonna go to the gym and then everyone membership drops off within 30 days, like yeah, it's just not my stick. I don't knock it. I think for a lot of people it is important and it can be a really valuable part of their taking care of themselves. It's just me personally, I don't vibe with it.
I love that. No, that's so real. I was curious because I was like, ooh, what are you gonna say about New Year's resolution?
No, I'm not canceling New Year's resolutions. You can have them. I just don't want them.
No, I get that.
I
For
like-
me, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like what Alley Cat said in the chat. It doesn't have to be for the whole year. You can set a smaller time frame for sure.
Yes.
Mm-hmm,
Okay, go for it, MJ.
I was gonna say for me, I am such a nerd when it comes to group dynamics and and what is it like? I was obsessed with social psychology in college. I'm like, ooh, what are people gonna do when the group does this thing and that thing? So I noticed like part of my neurodiversity is that I totally, totally appreciate body doubling. Hence, calling a friend when I go to the grocery store and calling somebody when I'm driving or doing something together, like co working. And so when it comes to New Year's time, even if they're faking, I'm like, yes, everybody, so many people are on board to make changes. This is a really good time for everybody's energy and bounce off those mirror neurons. Everybody's energy to like do something different can kind of help me spark my doing something different. And so I am not emotionally attached to the resolution in that if I don't continue, I'm like, beating myself up. But it's more so of a situation in that, like, I know there are things that I want to do, even like in content creation in life, that now this feels like a good jump off spot because a lot of people are making changes. And the ones that are going to stick are going to stick, and the ones that won't are going to fall back. But at least I had kind of like a group corral to get started. So I love New Year's resolutions for that reason. Like it just feels like a lot of space for hope, even if it feels like false hope, even if some people struggle to continue and some people really are not able to maintain. It's just like that union of like hope that's inspiring to me.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. I think, New Year's resolutions can be super helpful for some people and not very impactful for others, and that's totally okay. I, again, struggle with motivation, right? So I'll set all these New Year's resolutions, but then they just kind of trickle away because it's like I don't actually have the motivation to start them in the first place, or I make them like lofty, unreachable things. Like I'm going to work out 5 times a week. And it's like, well, if I'm currently only working out 1 time a week, like how is it realistic that I'm going to go from 1 to 5? Right. So I think it's awesome and inspiring that you like New Year's resolutions. I just don't think it's a tool that works for everyone. Maya, since you brought this up, do you have New Year's resolutions?
No, not really. I think I've done exactly the thing you just described. I'm going to be in the gym every day and I'm going to read a book once a day. It's just silly stuff that is not achievable on day one kind of thing, but you sort of expect it. So week in, you're like, oh, I already failed. But I do totally recognize what Effector of Change was saying, sort of the anniversaries of something important and sort of look back, whether it is a birthday or something you started, whether it's a new job or something important, a project, to sort of look back over the year 2, 3, and okay, where do I want to be in the next year? Where do I want to take it? So sort of, recognizing, hey, I have done something good here because that's whatever has got me here the last year, whatever may have happened. I like it. I'm good. But what can we do better, kind of thing? Yeah, because I feel like if I set myself some silly things that I will never achieve, I'm just going to feel bad about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to our point where we started talking about shame and guilt, right? I feel like New Year's resolutions oftentimes is an invitation to trigger your shame cycle. And so in that way, if you're vulnerable to that, that's not a great process for you. For similar reasons, as a therapist, I don't give homework. Very rarely do I ever give somebody homework because I never want someone to avoid therapy because they didn't complete an assignment. Ain't no way that's getting in the way of my relationship with somebody. Yeah, I think when we're talking about goals, I know it's old school, but SMART goals are still the vibe, right? If anyone doesn't know that. And starting your goal out of a value is also important, right? It's not what you want to achieve or what you want to accomplish. It's what kind of a value do you want to have in your life that you want more of? Because if you can do your goal setting around that value, you're much more likely to follow through with what you're trying to do. For anyone who doesn't know SMART goals are specific, right? We need to be clear what we're looking for. We need to be able to measure them, not just at the end, but we need to have those milestones along the way so that we can track our progress. That's another important part of doing the goal, right? We want to have them attainable, so we need to assess what are our strengths, what are the things that we have going towards that goal, and what are the limitations, what's going against it, right? And so that's an important piece where we got to figure out where to put that bar. The R, I say, is related to those values. Is it relevant to who I am or who I want to be? There's other R's in other models. That's the one I prefer. And then time-based, right? We've got to have a clear timeline on when we're going to get this stuff done. And so when you write a goal, if you can follow each of those pieces in writing the goal, you're a lot more likely to follow through. But again, you don't need to invite yourself to feel more shame, right? Like, don't do that if that doesn't work for you.
I love that so much. Every time you talk, I'm just like, can you be my therapist?
Listen, even therapists need therapists. See,
Right. Everything you're saying is so real and so good, and I think that speaks to like what's coming up for me when you talk about that speaks to just like what we need individually and who we are and what our histories are, what our traumas are like, and what needs we have really. And so and this is, a little bit of vulnerability, when I think about, my own experiences in like reaching goals and not reaching goals, it feels like my New Year's resolution, I do this all the time. My New Year's resolution is to read 50 books. And then people are like, what? You're in school, you got a job. You're not going to read 50 books. You're just setting yourself up for failure. And because I have the support and the system I have, one thing that I like to do is to set it up. And if I don't reach the 50 books, then it is a way for me to practice, like, what does that feel like? Am I entering into this shame place? What can I do to like practice not going there? What is this space like for me that I didn't follow through with something? How do I hold space with I'm still worthy and I'm still valuable and my action isn't what I wanted it to be? And so it's a way for me to continue to separate who I am versus what I do. And then like often it's, and again, it depends on who you are. But, you mentioned like not giving out homework. And for some people, a lot of people, I don't give out homework. But for some people, I'm like, let's do homework. And then when they come back and they're like, I didn't do the homework, I'm so sorry. I'm just, I was avoiding therapy. This is like a moment where we can like have a healing space where you have to know that like what you do and who you are, they are not like your value as a human being is not connected to what you do or you didn't do in regard to homework. And so can we have this space where we can like start to pull apart your identity from basic life stuff that we may or may not do or goals that we may or may not follow. And so it's just so powerful to hear these different approaches and like to really see differences in what people need and who people are. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I liked what you talked about, sort of having more of a cycle of positive self-talk. Like, okay, I didn't do this action, but this doesn't have any bearing on who I am as a person, and being comfortable sort of being okay with, it's not really failure, but kind of is in the same way, like being okay with like not achieving a goal or not doing exactly what it was you were supposed to do, and being able to talk yourself up and be like, it doesn't affect your character or who you are as a human. So I liked that. Something I need to be better about.
Trauma is the same thing, right? Trauma is less about what happened to me. It's more about, well, what does that mean, right? Who am I because of this experience? And that's a lot of the journey that I'm on with people in the room, is helping them redefine those experiences of who they are. Just because something bad's happened doesn't mean anything, right? Like you have to have a different view of yourself and the world around you. And for some people, they have blinders to being able to do that because of what they've experienced.
Right.
And so
Right.
being aware of your blinders is good. And, you know, whacking yourself over the head with some different perspectives is good. And having resources is nice. But yeah, that piece about measurability, like having those milestones is important, because if I'm noticing I'm not achieving it, right? I'm not making that milestone check-in that I want to. Like, let's say it is reading one book every day, and out of 7 days, I only read it twice. We don't need to give up the goal. That is an opportunity to now change it. We've
Right.
got new information. Now we need to just shift. Oh, I've realized, like, oh, I've got some obstacles. I'm going to shift it to twice a week, right? Instead, a lot of us, we just throw it out because, like, oh my
Yep.
God, I failed and
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
like
yeah.
it, so I'm going to avoid it, right?
Yep.
No, it's just an invitation for you to modify the goal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. I should do that more often instead of being like, well, I didn't exercise this week, so it's whatever.
Yeah. Perfect place to like be accountable for what is happening or not happening. Use that as information while also like holding who you are and like being grounded in who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it's resonating with people in chat as well. And, don't forget, sometimes you might have a perfectly executed plan, it's looking great. But then, if you need to run it by someone else, or there is another person and they just, they don't share that opinion, they don't share those goals, or they just don't care. And it's, so knowing I did my best, sometimes it doesn't work out. Even if I change my mind about it or decide, what I thought 2 months ago that this event would be wonderful or whatever it might be, it no longer is. It's totally okay to change it. And yeah, it's not a failure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left. I want to be mindful of people's time.
Yes.
Do we want to see if anybody in chat has any specific question that they didn't feel like was addressed, or if anyone has any last remarks that they've been waiting to say but haven't found the right space to do it, feel free to do so now. Really
just-
Yeah, you do it. You do it.
just letting you guys know, I'm really happy I'm hearing you guys. This is so helpful. And a little healing also. That's amazing. Thank you. And hydrate.
If you want to follow our lovely content creators and mental health professionals, I'm going to shout them out in chat right now. Go drop them a follow. Show them all the love for being here and making space for us today. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, we really do. Taking 2 hours out of your busy schedule to talk to us and our communities is really special. So really appreciate you. Thank you. And you, Elizabeth, as well, because you're the one who started this whole natural beauty thing. And I'm so glad that, you were happy to let me in on the fun ride.
Yeah. So. Thank you for helping me continue it, because without you, I would have been like, okay, I did it. Goal achieved.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much.
Cool. Exactly how it happened. Yeah. Thank you for the amazing chat. Very beneficial. Oh, thank you. Thanks for people joining in as well. That's amazing. And I will pull this stream and VOD and put it on our other YouTube, so they will all be up there, so you guys can keep rewatching and listening to these wonderful people over and over and over again.
Over and over and over. Put us all on repeat. Over and over and over.
I have a question. When can we do this again? Thanks, Khan. But yes, well, hopefully we will. But I will definitely repost some of the wonderful resources that have been shared. Yes. Oh, you already shared it in the Discord. Perfect. Effector of Change has sent all that through, so I will share that as well, so everyone has access to it. And if you haven't followed them, do it now, basically. So thank you, everyone.
Everybody has a good rest of their day, evening, whatever time zone you're in, the future, the past.
Yeah, good time zones, y'all. Good time zones.
Yeah. All right, Maya, you good to go? Are you forging forward on your stream? And we're just gonna leave you?
Nope, that's all right.
Nope.
I'm just gonna flip the. I know I'm gonna leave that here. This has been an awesome stream. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and let's do it again soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.